All right, Nick, let's talk about the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers, one of the first teams to actually have their rookies report to training camp. Exciting time of year. Football feels like it's on the precipice of being back, but amidst some of the drama for the Chargers, there's one player in particular who is there and is looking good. The coaches, everybody is talking about it, and we're going to break it down today. But before we jump into that, I'm Andrew, that's Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, one guy in particular is really looking good. He's at training camp, really catching some coaches' eyes. We're talking about none other than rookie fifth round pick wide receiver DeAndre Smith. I think this is a really great pickup for the Chargers. Let's get into the article. We can talk more about it on the other side. We actually got two articles. The first one being from SB Nation. It says Chargers wide receivers coach Sanjay Lal was one of a handful of players' coaches to speak with the media. The most notable nugget of information we got from Lal was in regards to the team's two drafted receivers, second rounder Trey Harris and fifth rounder Keandre Lambert Smith. It says, when asked about the first year players, Lal reported that they are bringing them along slowly, but he says, I have seen the skill sets that we drafted, said Lal. Those are showing up, so that is a good sign. What they wanted out of these guys really looking good already, starting to show up. But more recently, Greg Roman has talked about the wide receiver room. This is from SI.com. It says, Greg Roman on the Chargers wide receiver room says, really excited about our two draft picks. I think those guys are affording themselves well. Then goes on to talk about the rest of the room, saying McConkey is good. We all knew that. Quentin Johnson, surprisingly, having a good spring so far. But he's saying these guys are going to take another step. But most notably, two different sources, two different guys saying the rookie draft picks for this team looking really good. And we haven't heard a lot about Lambert Smith up to this point. So I think that's a really, really good sign. But when you break down the data and you look at him versus some guys that were drafted just before him, the three receivers drafted right before him in the fourth round, it starts to make a little bit of sense. We have our first graph here. Talk about Keandre Lambert Smith versus the wide receivers that were drafted before him. And when you break everything down, you look at it all, there's some really good data here talking about Smith here versus another great receiver, Jalen Royals, a rookie fourth rounder out in Kansas City. We got Alik Ayamar and we got Jordan Watkins, three guys out of the fourth round drafted right before him. And we see receiving grades. Smith beats out everybody just barely. He's basically on the same level, him and Royals. So 80.4 there for Smith, 73.7 for Watkins, 74.3 for A.O. Manor, and then 80.3 for Jalen Royals. Royals, Smith, very, very close, but nonetheless edges him out. We look at their receptions. How many targets were they getting last year? How many catches were they making? How much were they involved in the game plan? And we look at Smith, 80 receptions for him last year. This guy is seasoned. He got a lot of catches, a lot of good things going on for him. We look at Jordan Watkins, 60, Ayomar, 63, Jalen Royals, 55. So great there for Smith. We look at something else I thought was very interesting, yards per reception. This is where things get a little bit interesting. 19.6 yards per reception. Very crazy numbers for Smith. He had a pretty big year there. Jordan Watkins, 17.3. AMR, 13.2. And Royals, 15.3. Then we look at touchdowns. Everyone very similar. 6, 7. And then we have Smith with 8. But again, really edging everybody out a little bit higher when it comes to that aspect. So overall, Keandre Lambert Smith drafted after these three wide receivers, specifically Jalen Royals, a guy that we're pretty high on. We think is a good selection for the Chiefs. He's looking really good. He's comparable to these guys and even better than them in a lot of different aspects. So overall, I think this is a great pickup, great sign, great sign that his wide receiver coach is talking about how good he's doing. Great sign Greg Roman is talking about how good he's doing. I think the Chargers have a special one here in Keandre Lambert Smith. Curious what your thoughts are on this one, Nick. But before we get to you, Chargers fans, in the comment section below, training camp is upon us. We're about to start seeing it go into full effect. And I'm curious, which new addition are you the most excited to see perform at training camp? There's a lot of great options here, a lot of different players, whether it's, new free agents added to the team, whether it's these rookie draft picks that are coming into the fold. Who are you the most excited to see develop through training camp? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And while you're down there, make sure to check out our free newsletter from the Substack platform. A lot of great information there. I know football season is getting closer, but still, if you need to scratch that itch, we have our free newsletter. Gives tons of great data, tons of great information, tons of great articles, and we feature our favorite comment of the week. So make sure to check that out. And if you give us a great comment, you might see yourself there. But nonetheless, Nick, enough from me. What are your thoughts on everything here for the Chargers?
So Lambert Smith, to me, is one of the more interesting prospects that came out of the 2025 NFL Draft. First of all, you talk about the perfect fit. The Chargers were looking for a big play wide receiver. That's what Lambert Smith was throughout his entire college tenure, whether it was with Penn State and then, of course, transferred to Auburn. He was a big play receiver. And in fact, if you look at his numbers in 2024 last season, just going most recent, he was second team All SEC and ranked number 9 in the FBS in terms of yards per reception, 19.6. So you talk about needing a big play receiver. Is Trey Harris that guy? Quentin Johnson doesn't look like he is that guy. Could Keandre Lambert-Smith become that kind of player? There's a real chance he can. I mean, a lot of people look at the issues with the second-round picks and all the holdouts across the National Football League with the deals going on. Opportunity opening up here for this young prospect, and I think he's in a great position to take advantage of it. On this channel, we love talking about transfers, guys who spent time in one program in college, then went to another to finish out the career and finish their careers at a high level at the collegiate ranks. Why does that matter? A guy who can transfer from one big-time program to another, or frankly, any program to another, has a level of maturity at a very young age. Think about it like this, right? We're talking about a transfer, a guy who's 20, 21 years old, 19 years old, who was in one college, in this case Penn State, then picked up his entire life, left his friends, his teammates, his classmates, his teachers, his entire routine where he was living, uprooted everything and moved to a completely new school, new coaches, new environment, new teammates, new everything, new weight room, everything you could think could be different, and excelled at the highest level. That's not dissimilar of what happens in the National Football League, and that means we've got a guy here in Lambert Smith who has already uprooted his entire life before and executed on the football field. He's got a great chance to do it again. And this is the time of the year, especially early in training camp, during holdouts, during injuries, where young guys are getting a lot of reps, where we're going to see some of these almost forgotten draft picks, whether they're undrafted guys or day 3 guys, they get a lot of opportunities and really start showing out. And you look at Lambert Smith, one of the things that really jumps out to me is that the biggest criticism of him completely aligns with his greatest strength. So for example, if you look at his NFL.com draft profile, and I pulled it up here, his biggest weakness, according to them, was that he has below average long speed. This is the guy that finished 9th in the NFL, 9th in college football, last season, 19.6 yards per reception, and then ran a 4.3 40, a 4.37 40-yard dash during the pre-draft process. So you're talking about a guy who, by every conceivable metric, whether it's a 40-yard dash, whether it's on-field production, has top long-end speed, but yet people in the scouting complex and the media believe he lacks it. At a certain point, I think a lot of these agencies and frankly some teams, they overanalyze, analysis paralysis, they get too deep into the weeds. The reality is Keandre Lambert Smith, wherever he has gone, has been in a legitimate big play deep threat guy. He's executed at the highest level. He can score touchdowns. He scored 8 last year, I believe, for Auburn. He can get it done at a high level. And let's not forget Auburn's offense last year, especially at the quarterback situation, bit of a dumpster fire. So it's not like he was playing on, like the 2019 LSU Tigers with Joe Burrow and all those guys, and it just was a field day. He was one of the few guys that could play at a high level on that offense, and he did a phenomenal job. I expect him to come into this offense and be a big-time playmaker in training camp, in preseason, especially with Trey Harris working through that second-round pick holdout. Expect Lambert Smith to get a lot of opportunities, and based on what he showed in college, working through the transfer process, being a legitimate big play threat wherever he's gone, I expect him, Justin Herbert, the entire offense, Greg Roman as the OC there, they're going to get along, start getting connected, and we're going to see a real budding connection, a real legitimate number 2 option. Trey Harris could join that too. We'll see how it all shakes out. Not dismissing Harris at this point, right? Obviously, he's a very talented guy out of Ole Miss as well. But don't discount Lambert here. Don't discount Lambert Smith, Don't discount this young guy. He's got a great future in front of him, and he's got a great opportunity. And if past is prolonged, he's going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, Nick, and I think you bring up a really great point. You talk about opportunity and seizing it, and Lambert Smith really getting kind of his wheels rolling right at the right time as we enter training camp. And we all know, and this is really not any knock on Trey Harris because it's not just him; it's every second round pick in the entire NFL. The whole guaranteed contract holdout. We don't need to get into all of that, but nonetheless, it opens an opportunity. Trey Harris not at camp. Mike Williams, PUP list to start off camp. Really big opportunity for a young wide receiver to work himself in and start to show what he's got. So I think more than any other fifth round pick, we're going to see Keandre Lambert Smith have a great opportunity in training camp to go out early and show what he's got. And I think when you're talking about a mid to late round draft pick, that's what they need. Most of the time, these guys, they're not bad players, especially at certain positions. I think you can really show your stuff, but they don't necessarily get all of the opportunities they need to. The guys drafted before them are just as good, or if not better. In this case, Keandre Lambert Smith has the perfect opportunity to work in and get some high quality reps early on and show his stuff. Does that mean he's going to do that? Not necessarily. But like you said, this is a guy that's mature. He's uprooted his life, moved from the Midwest to the East Coast, transferred schools, went from the Big Ten to the SEC, made a lot of cultural shifts before. Now he's on the West Coast. I think this is a guy that can really do some great stuff. I think he's put himself in a great position, and I think we're going to see some interesting things for the Chargers. Keep an eye on Keandre Lambert Smith because I think this is a guy that might start turning heads in training camp, like you said, with that big play ability and his ability of being available. Because we all know this time the best ability is availability, and Keandre Lambert Smith is available at the right time.